Americans, both black and white, began organizing and speaking out against slavery. The people who wanted to get rid of or abolish slavery were called abolitionists. It is believed that the Underground Railroad began in 1781. That's when abolitionists began to organize a system for hiding and aiding runaway enslaved people. By 1850, there were 3,000 workers on the Underground Railroad helping escaped enslaved people on their treacherous journey to the free states in the North and Canada. The Underground Railroad was a series of homes, barns, and churches called stations. Stations were the places runaways could hide. People who ran the stations were called station masters. Some people were called conductors. Conductors were people who supplied the passengers or enslaved people with maps and other things they would need for their journey north. Typically, stations were about 20 miles apart. Some conductors hid passengers in wagons or carts with false bottoms to travel from one station to another. Runaways usually hid during the day. It was safer to travel under the darkness of night. They could recognize a station by brightly lit candles or lanterns positioned in the front yard. There they knew they could find help. Working or traveling on the Underground Railroad was dangerous. For runaway enslaved people, there was always the danger of slave catchers. Slave catchers would hunt for the escaping enslaved people with dogs. Slave catchers made money by catching and returning enslaved people to their owners. If they were captured, their owners often beat or killed the runaways to discourage others from trying to escape. Working on the Underground Railroad became against the law in 1850 when Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Act. Anyone aiding or hiding runaways would have to pay a steep fine or be put in jail. Helping enslaved people was now illegal. But nothing stopped the Underground Railroad. Tens of thousands of enslaved people journeyed to freedom. A businessman named Thomas Garrett became a very famous station master. He lived in the slave state of Delaware. There, he turned his home in Wilmington into the last station on the Underground Railroad. It was the last stop before enslaved people reached freedom in Pennsylvania. Garrett helped more than 2,000 enslaved people to freedom. One of the most famous and important conductors of the Underground Railroad was a former enslaved person, Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman made it to freedom on the Underground Railroad and then made many secret trips back to the South to lead more than 300 enslaved people to freedom. There were many routes to freedom on the Underground Railroad. But how did enslaved people learn about it? How did they know which way to go? The answer is secret codes. Some codes were found in songs. The lyrics in a song called "Follow the Drinking Gourd" referred to the Big Dipper constellation in the bright North Star. The lyrics provided directions on how to get north. Depending on where they lived, it could take over a year for a runaway to make it to the Mason-Dixon line to freedom. The Mason-Dixon line was the boundary line between Virginia and Pennsylvania. Some enslaved people traveled by themselves, others in small groups. Even some families risked their lives to escape slavery.